There must have been a point where you was like, no, I've got to do some intentional work.
It's very strange because I've always been, how can I say, searching for my purpose, searching for my connection to the Most High. And I was telling Jay earlier, I had a very strange birth, to the point where when I did get married, I got married when I was 24. That's a whole other story, like I said. But my cousin actually flew from England. He got my birth certificate from the hospital, and he came and gave me away at this wedding. But the story is when he went to the hospital, and he gave this speech at my wedding. He went to the hospital to pick up my birth certificate. Apparently, they called into the back, and the doctor who delivered me runs out. Now, keep in mind, this is 24 years later. He's seen a lot of boxes in his time, but apparently my birth was remembered. And he comes out and he starts telling my cousin this crazy story about how I was born, technically, legally dead. It was a struggle because they were trying to have me born a day early. So I guess they had broken the, it's a terrible woman, I don't know the name. They'd broken the sack, let's say that. And so they were trying to have me born on the 28th of September. My mother was in labor for 23 hours. And so when I came out, I was still. I was dead to the world. And she started praying. She said, I didn't know God's name at the time. She tells me this story a lot, but I just prayed, my daughter, just let her be born, please. And she will worship you. She'll follow you. She'll do whatever she has to her whole life. Kind of that story in the Bible where he promised his daughter, she ended up serving at the temple. But anyway, so they did a Hail Mary. They injected oxygen directly into my brain. I came to and apparently pooped everywhere. And I hope I go out the same way if I got it. But my cousin gives this story at my wedding, and I'm just sitting there aghast, like, how come nobody told me this? It's 24 years old. How does a doctor remember my birth? Like, he's probably delivering 30 babies a day. That is insane. But I will say that I've always been told by random people, like, you're here for a reason. So, and I used to reject it. I used to get angry when people would say that to me. And like, that's BS. Like, we're all just here. But the more I hear it, the more I have to take notice. So maybe I am, But so I was born in this crazy, crazy way. And so a lot of things have happened through my life where as a child, I was consistently introspective. Like I said before, I was a very lonely child, always reading, always thinking, always trying to figure out how to form this connection with my creator. Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? And I don't know too many people 14, 15 years old who are walking around with that constantly on their mind. That was my thought all the time. And especially in the type of religious environment I was in, religion is on the forethought of your brain. And my spirit was so conflicted with what I was being taught. That was happening as well. Like, I would go to these religious meetings and have panic attacks just because they'd be feeding me this information, and it would I don't know, it was like trying to fit a square into a round hole. It wasn't working with my system, but this is what I was supposed to be believing, what I was being taught. And so I would just have such serious conflicts, and it created a lot of problems. And I would ask them questions. I would question, and they didn't like it. And I eventually got baptized into the religion because I figured that would make my mom a more loving individual. But by then her brain had been fully washed by this organization.
For some people, that's an ultimate religion, especially if your family's from a certain religion background, to take that step to say, you know what, I'm going to step out here.
It wasn't a step, it was a drop. Because if I'm being honest, it was a drop. I was 23 years old, and I was dating this person in my congregation. I loved him. I was very in love with him at the time. He was my boyfriend, and he was going through difficulty with his family where he was staying, and he'd had a drug history. And so I said, okay, well, you can sleep on my couch, just hands off, whatever. Now, I know this is probably going to sound crazy, but I was 23 years old. I'd had boyfriends before. I'd had a 2-year boyfriend in college, but I was still a virgin. My boyfriend and I were together. We were going to stay together until we weren't going to lose our virginity until we got married. And he wasn't in the same religion as me, which is actually why I ended up breaking it off with him. The pressure was too much, and I ended it with him. And I know for a fact he still loved me to this day, 20 years on, but he has his own family now and everything, and I wish him the best. But while I was with this person that I was dating, who was a part of my congregation, we went out one night, and I had a lot to drink, and he got me home to the point where I passed out, and I came to, and he took my virginity by raping me while I was drunk and unconscious. And because I was a part of this religion, not only did they cover it up, I was, I guess what you call excommunicated. And so I'm shunned by most of my family because they just believe that I had premarital sex. They don't know the whole story and they won't listen to me. So that's my, that happened to me when I was 23. I didn't have any support and I only had him. So by that time, if you're raised in a very Christian environment or even under Sharia law, what happens when you're with somebody and they take your virginity? What's the next step if you're still with them? You got to marry them. So I married my rapist. And I was in that environment for over a year. Keep in mind, I had no family to help me. I had nothing. I just had myself to get by. So I was on a lot of, antidepressant medication, going to therapy, trying to figure out why my soul was just feeling so tortured. And he was abusive in sexual and physical ways through that process. I stayed with him a year, and I managed to escape from him after a year.
Can I ask about, because a lot of people, they don't get out. What was it, how did you get out in terms of getting out? And a year, because sometimes it could be years, or if you don't mind.
What I will say is, it's really funny because when you are raised in the religious organization that I was raised in, you're not really even supposed to have friends or family or anybody who's outside of it, which is why when you try to explain things that happen to you, it's very difficult for people to understand unless they understand that environment. Like you say to somebody, yes, I married my rapist, or I let my child die because I couldn't let them have a blood transfusion. To your typical everyday person, that sounds like madness. In this organization, them's the rules. So things like that, it's very hard to explain to people who are not part of it. But getting out of it was, like I said, I was excommunicated. I was kicked away from my family. Everybody I'd ever known, pretty much, except for the few friends that I made outside of the religion, the folks that I met in college, I had nobody. But thank goodness for my friends. And if anybody wants to look it up, there is an interview that I did a few years ago. It's 2 hours long. It's on YouTube. If you want to type in Georgia and the word shunned, it'll explain. It's a 2-hour interview I did about my life and what happened with all of that and regarding the religion and how that went through. And it's pretty clear. A lot of it is the first time I've ever spoken those truths, and my voice is a little shaky from time to time, but it's all true. So that's what it is. But yeah, my friends definitely did help to save me. They helped to pull me out of myself. Also, the fact that I had gone to college, because when you're part of this religion, they actually preach against any higher education because they know that once people start to use critical thinking, you're going to put 2 and 2 together and realize, like, hold on a second, this is 5. Like,
wow,
what's going on?
Deep. It's like cultish.
It is a cult, actually. Yeah. I avoid using that term just so they don't flag you on your channel, but it really is. They even control how a married couple will have intimacy. Like, there's certain things you are allowed to do and not allowed to do, even in your married state. That's how much control they have over everything.
Wow.
I mean, the fact that my mother has next to nothing to do with her own eldest daughter going on, let's see, I was 24 when this happened. I'll be 42 next week. It's been a while, so.
So you still don't have?
Not really. Like, I just let her know that I was, well, she's known I've been in the country for, I'd say, maybe about 2-3 months, and we've talked a little bit online, but she's gone so far to spread the lies that her church has told her about me to other people. So as angry as it makes me and as hurtful as it is, I have to love her as my life giver from a distance and just she's over there. I just have to compartmentalize that and do my own thing, because you cannot control people. You can only control how you deal with them.
Yeah.
And that's just pretty much how I deal with a lot of things.
I just think it's so messed up, the level of programming, the level of like detail in terms of how you live your life. Like, where's the free will that they apparently God has given you?
But it's a blessing though, because if I didn't have that perception of being raised in a cult, a lot of things that are happening in regular society, I wouldn't recognize as the same thing. You know, even with getting the jab and everything, I'm seeing people taking these sides in a way that I'm just like, y'all remember the Spanish Inquisition? Like, do you understand how we're separating people and creating scapegoats for things and saying, you know, if you don't live this way, you're wrong and you're killing us? Like, that's how Christianity was pushed on the world. And if you cannot see that, I don't know what to say. But it's it's just very clear to me. Oh, we're not going to let people go into these stores or these arenas because they're damned. Like, the same thing happened with religion. That's how it was pushed all over the globe. And you've got people who feel self-righteous that they're defending this. And it's like, okay, interracial marriage, especially in America, was preached at with the same, preached against with the same anger as you talk about like catching Ebola or AIDS or something. It's like, this is going to kill your family. It's going to destroy your community. That's what they equated mixed marriages with. So if you're going to just go with whatever they tell you, then of course you're just going to believe whatever they say. It's just, it's you must not go with the flow. You must take everything with a grain of salt. Even some of our great writers, anything anybody tells you, take time to think about it. Never take anything as law. That's, if I could encourage everybody to do that. Just question everything you think, see, and hear, and you'll have a better chance. It's what you just accept willingly. That's when you get screwed over. And that's the lesson I think I've learned through life, because the church people didn't really appreciate me because I was constantly questioning. Not because I was a doubter, but I wanted confirmation. I said, okay, if this is happening, explain to me why. I think I was 16 or 17, and my mom had two people from the church come over because the style was grunge back then. I was listening to Nirvana and Pearl Jam and some of these metal groups. That was my thing, you know. And there are people my color who like that music as well, but they hide because if they say they like it, they're gonna say, "Oh, you're not black," you know. But the fact is, I love music. I'll listen to a good polka if it slaps, you know. It doesn't matter. But when you allow things to define what your idea of black or white or Asian is, then you're not really living your truth. You're living someone else's definition of it.
What was it like when those two guys that came round that your mum brought from the church? What was the type of conversation like?
That was very interesting because she didn't like that I wore the ripped jeans, and it wasn't like today when it's just like more leg than pant, but just having the rips in my jeans and wearing my fun around my waist, and I spray my hair green and stuff, but I'd wash it out before church. She had an issue with that, so she brought them over to show me scripturally where that type of behavior was wrong. And of course, my little self was just like, come on, show me in the book. I want to see jeans on it. You know, I want to see Ezekiel talking about jeans. Show me the page.
Kill him with detail.
The second you can show me in the Bible where it says I'm not allowed to have rips in my jeans, I'll go throw these out right now. Okay, so that was me.
But it's true. You're just killing them with logic.
So my question to you now is, having gone through these experiences that not many people survive, you just explained to us maybe 5 in the short time that we've been speaking. Having gone through them, having been able to walk away from domestic violence, and all the other challenges, how do you feel that it has molded you for the strength for you to be able to deal with the things you're dealing with today, have the vision, and share the love and the light that you've received? How do you think it's built you into that?
I think, well, everything is a decision. Everything you come up against is a choice. Even when you are made a victim by somebody else's power, you decide if you're going to lie there or you're going to stand up. And I know that everyone has different levels of mental fortitude and things that they went through. I grew up around domestic violence, and this is no disrespect to my father. He was going through his own things at the time, but I did grow up in that whole arena. So when I got older and I had men try to belittle me or body me or talk down. It's just like, I've seen the gates of hell. There's nothing you can say is going to scare me. Like, in fact, I've had men try to bully me, and I tend to laugh at them because it's just, I've gone through so much that this thing you're putting on, this aggressive nature, it doesn't affect me. I'm a lot more nervous around the man who's angry and speaks quietly, to be honest, because those are the ones who, to me, that's like, okay, let me watch out for you. But if someone is just screaming and coming with rage, they instantly get transported down to a little boy for me. So that, in that way, I feel that I can handle myself. I also believe in self-defense. Like, I've taken different martial arts and things over the years. I studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm not proficient at all, but I do believe that if you have a sense of strength inside, it's going to vibrate in how you carry yourself and how you deal with everything. And my father was the one who told me, you come from royalty. Our people come from royalty. You must always carry yourself with that in mind. So regardless of how our relationship was, that always stayed with me regardless of what I was doing. It didn't mean to look down on anybody else, but it meant to carry yourself in a state that nobody could question something about you. Like, for example, when I was about 18, I used to be part of this chess league. I was, nerd alert, I was president of the chess club in my college. I was big into chess. And my mentor was this guy, Riley. He was this white guy. He ran the whole program. And I really liked him. I kind of saw him as a father figure. He was always helping me learn these strategies and everything. And he wanted to take me out for my 21st birthday. So I'm like, okay, cool. He's my chess mentor. No problem. Well, Riley tried to rape me. And the next day I go to the place where we all play chess, and I actually had to get away from it by playing, yes, you're right, Riley, I really do like you, but I'm just not feeling really well right now. Can you drop me home and we'll see each other later? It totally messed me up, but I realized I was in a situation where if I didn't play along, he was going to do it anyway. And that's something that I don't think a lot of men understand. When we get in that situation and have to put on these Oscar-winning performances, it's not for fun, but that's what happened to me. And I went to the coffee shop where we all played chess and hung out the next day, and one of my friends, he pulls me aside, Gio, Riley's saying that you came on to him yesterday, and he's married and all this stuff, but I don't believe it. Nobody believes it. He's over there talking so much mess about you, and we don't know what to do. Now, for me, if I had carried myself, I think, in any other way, I wouldn't have got that. Yeah. There were people already there defending me before I even walked on the scene because they knew of how I carried myself. Not saying that I was trying to be all pure and holy, but they knew for a fact that what he was saying wasn't right.